So, you have a really important interview coming up, but you're worried about your ability to make a great first impression with your interviewer. Does that sound familiar? Don't worry, I'm here to help. In this video, we're going to cover 5 quick and easy tips that you can use to impress in an interview every time. Whether your interview is in a few days or just in an hour, these tips will help you to make a great first impression. Be sure to stay to the end because my last tip is something that could make or break your chances of landing the job, but it won't even come up in the interview. You just have to know it. You can't afford to miss these tips, so let's dive in. Hi there, it's Julie, your conversation expert. I help highly driven professionals learn the leadership and communication skills needed to take their careers to the next level. Today, we're going to cover how to make a great first impression in an interview. If you would love to have today's tips all gathered in one place and several bonus tips to go along with them, be sure to download my free Interview Success Guide linked in the description below. The first thing to pay attention to if you want to know how to make a great first impression during an interview is what to wear for the occasion. Please don't make the mistake of going too casual when you dress for your interview, no matter how casual the interview may seem. Whether this is meeting someone for coffee at a local coffee shop or meeting them in the executive suite of a multi-million-dollar building, it is an interview and you need to dress like it. It doesn't matter if you know the person conducting your interview, or if this is for a low-paying position or a charity organization. The way that you dress for the interview shows how seriously you are taking this opportunity, and so it needs to reflect a serious attitude. There are general expectations of what's considered appropriate or not in the business world. And if you're watching this channel, you're probably going for a conventional position. So we're not going to go wild and crazy showing off your creative side when it comes to how you choose to dress for this interview. However, you do want to show a little bit of personality, so don't wear solid black top to bottom, unless of course that's the only thing that you have that looks professional for your interview, in which case, absolutely go for it. One choice that's going to be a winner every time is a combination of a solid neutral, such as beige or navy, combined with a small pop of color or a subtle print. Earth tones and jewel tones tend to look good on absolutely everyone, and they always come across as professional, so you can't go wrong there. Less is definitely more when it comes to jewelry, so 1 to 2 rings at most, either 1 watch or 1 bracelet, 1 necklace, and you can have a set of earrings, but they don't need to be drop earrings, which means where they come down, way far down on your neck, or really loud attention-grabbing earrings. You don't want them looking at your ears during the interview. You want them looking at your face. Now, we have several more tips coming up, but just as a reminder, if you have a friend or a loved one who you know has an interview coming up soon, be sure and share this video with them so that they can get the best tips available before they go for their interview so that they'll be set up for success. Tip number 2 when it comes to how to make a great first impression during an interview is all about the handshake. In America, it is expected that you'll be shaking hands with the person who is interviewing you at the beginning of the meeting, typically as you introduce yourself and say hello. Whether you like it or not, your handshake will tell a lot about you, so this is an important point that we need to cover. First of all, don't hesitate to stick your hand out. You should come across as someone who is confident and comfortable with this interaction. As a side note, it does not matter who sticks their hand out first to shake hands. But if you're going to be the one to initiate the handshake, please be mindful of whether or not the other person is ready for it. In order to avoid this becoming awkward, the person should already be physically close enough to you to be able to shake hands with you. They should be making eye contact with you so that they see you stick your hand out first, so that you don't just stick your hand out and they're busy writing something down on a piece of paper. And they should have their hands free so that they don't have to go through the awkward moment of having to set something down in order to shake hands with you. So just be mindful, if you're going to stick your hand out first, make sure the other person is ready for it. A firm handshake is considered the golden standard here. But what does that even mean? The point of a firm handshake is to show confidence. You shouldn't be squeezing someone's hand so tightly that it makes them uncomfortable. This is a sign of aggression or you potentially trying to dominate the other person, and it's considered very rude. It's a huge social faux pas, and it will reflect poorly on you. A limp or wimpy handshake tends to be very awkward and uncomfortable for the person on the receiving end, in this case, the interviewer, and it creates a lot of awkward feeling in the room. It tends to reflect on you as someone who is lacking in confidence, which is not what you want to give the impression of when you're going into your interview. Okay, so what is a firm handshake? How much is too much? How much is just right? Well, if you were to think about opening a heavy door, you would have to have a decent amount of grip strength in order to open the door, or else it wouldn't budge, right? But there's also no need to grip the door so tightly that you're trying to break the handle just to open the door. That wouldn't make any sense either, would it? If you're looking for a quick reference, just think about the types of doors that are available on most banks or department stores. They're heavier than usual, and they usually take a little bit of extra oomph to open, right? So if you were to think about how much grip strength you would need to open one of those heavy type of doors, that's roughly the amount that you would need when you're shaking someone's hand in order to come across as confident but not aggressive. Okay, so how long should this handshake last? Honestly, not that long. If you're going to be meeting with several people, then it's going to go even quicker. Just long enough to say, hi, hello, nice to meet you, I'm Julie, and so on. If there's only one person in the room, then you could linger a little bit longer, maybe long enough to say, hi, I'm Julie, it's so nice to meet you. And then you let go. If you're holding onto the hand for too long, that's also awkward and gives a lot of really weird feelings to the interviewer, so let's not do that. If you have to err on the side of caution, err on the side of a quicker handshake than one that lingers. I know that handshakes are one of those things that people can really overthink. So tell me in the comments if this is something that you struggle with, stress out about, or if you're perfectly confident giving a good handshake. Tip number 3 when it comes to how to make a great first impression during an interview is all about body language. Let's focus only on the body language related to the interview itself. We've already covered the handshake. Let's assume that you're sitting down and the interview is starting. Here are some things to keep in mind. Sit up straight with good posture. No leaning back, leaning forward, slouching, or otherwise kicking your feet up and looking a little too relaxed. Remember, this is an interview. It's a formal situation. Let's act like it. Keep your hands away from your face. Try not to scratch at yourself, play with your hair, or otherwise fiddle with anything to do with your face or your neck. This is a sign of anxiety or discomfort, and it can be very distracting to the interviewer. If you find yourself itching to do one of those things, see if you can take a slow, deep breath instead. Try to relax your shoulders down and pause. If the feeling persists, then you can make a slow, purposeful movement to adjust whatever needs to be adjusted, and then try to keep your hands away from your face from that point on. Avoid all forms of fidgeting. This shows anxiety, and it also creates anxiety in the other people in the room, because we have those mirror neurons in our brain that cause us to want to match the energy of the people who were around in that moment. Your fidgeting is going to make the other person start to feel fidgety. So don't tap your hands, tap your foot, shake your leg, play with a pencil, any of that. Try to keep your movements very still and purposeful. If the urge continues and you need something to do to try to calm yourself down, you can grasp your hands together in your lap and give them a little squeeze. The interviewer will not notice, but it will help you to calm down. In general, try to minimize how much you use your hands when you're speaking. Now, don't get hung up and distracted about this. You want to focus the interview on what you have to say. But if you're a person who's talking like this to make every point that they're trying to make about how great this is and how great that is, and don't you know what I'm saying? Then at that point, your hands are creating such a distraction that it makes it hard to focus on what you're actually saying. So if all else fails, again, grasp your hands together and give them a little squeeze, put them in your lap. It will help you to calm down, and it will help to keep your hands from stealing the show. If you would love a more in-depth review of body language, be sure to check out my most recent video that covers facial expression, body posture, and what to do with your arms in order to create more connection and keep the small talk ball rolling. Linked above or in the description below. Tip number 4 when it comes to how to make a great first impression during an interview is all about what you have to say. I'm sure you might be dying to hear this tip. Now, I have a lot of videos that are coming out related to specific interview questions, how to introduce yourself, and how to really pitch yourself for a position. But it's a little too much to cover in this video. Today, I want to cover some general tips that you can use to help increase your chances of landing the job and minimizing the chances that you might accidentally stick your foot in your mouth or say something that will cause you to not get this job that you really want to have. What it really comes down to is this: no drama, team player, problem solver. If you can convey these traits to the person interviewing you, you will come out on top. As someone who has conducted plenty of interviews myself, I can promise you that your ability to do the job is almost beside the point if the person can tell that you're going to be a gigantic pain to work with. Are you someone who always calls out a lot? Always has an excuse for why you didn't do what you said you were going to do? Blames everyone else for anything that goes wrong? Starts workplace drama? Has a level of personal life drama that consistently interferes with your work? Constantly complains? Doesn't want to support your teammates? Loves to use the phrase, "That's not my job"? I can promise you that the person conducting your interview wants to get to the bottom of all of these questions. Yes, it is important that you are qualified and capable of doing the job that you are interviewing for. But at the end of the day, they are stuck with you and they want to know what they're really getting into. So keep this in mind when you choose how to answer the questions that are put in front of you during this interview. Is the info you're about to share going to make you sound like a source of drama? Are you telling the story in such a way that makes you sound like a complainer or a blamer? Or are you positioning yourself as someone who understands what it means to act professionally in the workplace? Do you understand how to act professionally when things go wrong, instead of just standing around waiting for other people to fix the problem or complaining the whole time about how hard everything is? If these questions feel like ones you don't know how to answer, or you'd like help from me learning how to best position yourself for these important interviews, maybe you need help with interview prep in general, or you feel like you need some help working on these workplace issues, that they are real problems for you that you would like to be able to get on the other side of, I invite you to sign up for a free discovery call with me to discuss my one-on-one VIP coaching package. You can go to my website, yourconversationexpert.com/coaching, or check out the link in the description below. My last tip when it comes to how to make a great first impression during an interview is all about the internet. I can absolutely promise you that before you ever set foot in that interview room, you have been Googled. There's just too much information on the internet these days for employers to ignore. They know that you're coming to the interview ready to put your best foot forward. They expect you to. They also want to know what it is about you that you're not telling them. Don't ruin your chances of getting a job that you really want by being careless about what you post on the internet and on your socials. Take the time to double check your privacy settings before you ever put in your application, because as soon as that application is in, all bets are off, and you might not have the time to change anything from that point forward. Be sure to look at the pictures, quotes, and shares that you're putting on your various socials and think about how that would come across to someone who doesn't actually know you. And this is the only information that they're getting about who you are and how you feel. In another light, are you showing up to this interview looking perfectly polished, but your social feed suggests that you might be a little bit of a disheveled hot mess? Don't come into an interview proclaiming that you're a workaholic who never stops working 24/7 when your socials have 10 recent pictures of you passed out next to a toilet. Of course, people expect you to have a life and to be able to relax. But if the image that you're putting on your socials is someone who is out of control and constantly partying, it is going to have an effect on that person's opinion of you when it comes to your professionalism. And on that note, it's not just simply the fact that you're having these experiences. In a lot of ways, it has as much to do with the fact that you feel like it's okay to broadcast that for the whole world to see. So it shows a little bit of lack of judgment, lack of discernment, lack of privacy, and maybe a disconnected sense of what's considered appropriate or not when it comes to what you share with other people. So you may or may not agree that that's fair, but it is going to factor in. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you, it is going to make an impact on what your interviewer or potential employer thinks of you if this is what your socials are showing about you. Because what you choose to post on social media might be the difference between whether you even get the interview or not. So you might be sabotaging yourself before you ever even get a chance to get in the room and pitch how great you are for this job, because they already have decided that you're not a good fit. So check your privacy settings, maybe even ask a friend what they think, go incognito on your internet browser, Google yourself, see what comes up, and do your best to try to clean this up if you can. It's important if this job is important to you. I hope that you found these tips to be really helpful and ones that you can apply right away, even if you've got an interview in less than an hour. Please give this video a like and make sure and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future videos, including all of the ones that will be coming out about interview questions, how to introduce yourself in an interview, and a lot more. My next video is all about communication skills for first-time supervisors. So if that's you, make sure that you hit the bell so that you will not miss that video. And in the meantime, check out these super helpful videos. Again, this is Julie, your conversation expert, and I'll see you next week.